Yeah, g'day, Fight You 360 fans. It's your old mate, Big J, Jason Fletcher here from Australia again. And today I've got the absolute privilege of talking to one of Australia's most upcoming prominent female boxers and AFLW stars, Carlton Blues player Tayla Harris. How you doing today, Tayla?
Hey, good, thank you. How are you going?
I'm doing quite well. So for those, because, predominantly we are a American-based YouTube channel. So for the American fans that are unaware of Australian upcoming talent, would you be able to tell us a bit about yourself? Give us a little bit of a dabble of your AFL career and what got you into boxing?
Yeah, sure. So I started footy when I was little, and that's kind of the only sport that I knew growing up. And then I went over to a boxing gym, walked in there and fell in love pretty much straight away with the sport. I thought it was an amazing sport. It required so much discipline and so much commitment, and there was so much to learn as well, which was something exciting for me because at that point footy was becoming a little bit repetitive, and I'd been to training sessions every week for the last 10 years. So it was nice to learn something new and to get a new skill under my belt. That also quite crossed over to football as well. So football is in AFL, I should say.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. I literally just walked into the gym out of interest's sake. My dad encouraged me to continue because he thought it was important for his daughter to understand what she's capable of if there was ever a time where I needed to defend myself. But then in terms of competing, I got a little confidence from my still coach, Ferris, back in the early days, and he kind of suggested that I could fight if I wanted to, and then I took his word and I said, yep, let's do it, and I had my first fight, and then just kept going and loved it ever since.
So, did you have any amateur background before you turned pro, or you just went straight into the deep end?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't have any. To be honest, I didn't know any of the pathway kind of thing. I never bothered to Google like what the steps are or anything. So, as per usual with the way I roll, I just did things unconventionally and kind of just took some direction. An opportunity came up with a professional fight on an event my friend was fighting on, so I just said, yeah, sure, I'll jump on. There was a spot on the card available, so I thought, why not? Got on there and managed to win, and then the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, you've done quite well for yourself now. Your record's 7 wins, no losses, 1 draw. And we'll just go back into your history a bit, because you're actually a Queensland girl, aren't you? That's moved down here.
I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where in Queensland are you actually from?
North Brisbane.
North Brisbane. Okay, you're a Brisbane girl. Interesting that I find that you didn't grow up with rugby league. I thought that's a it's an NRL hotspot, North Brisbane. It's all Broncos.
Yeah, it is, but I was brought up in a family of AFL people. Dad played for Queensland. My uncle played footy as well. So it's kind of, I was encouraged very early to try AFL, and I just so happened to really enjoy it, so I stuck with it. But yeah, I think to my dad's, to mum and dad's happiness, I stayed with AFL because a lot of the girls that were playing rugby, especially at the time, probably 10 or 15 years ago, were some pretty solid, strong units, and I was a skinny little stick figure, so probably would have got snapped in half.
Yeah, because I grew up in Rocky myself, and it was all just rugby league. That's all you played. There was no other sports available except for tennis and bike riding, and no one really got into that. Yeah, so let's talk about more about your career. So you're 7-0 and 1 draw at the moment. You've had 3 fights against Marguerite Butcher. Is that how you pronounce the first name? Marguerite? Is that?
Yeah, Marguerite. Yeah.
Marguerite Butcher. You've had 2 against Janae Harding. 1 against Sarah Dwyer, and I can't remember who was the other. I haven't got your record up in front of me, actually.
Tessa, I think. Tessa, I can't remember her last name right now.
Yeah, I'll bring up your record while we're talking here. So, same thing I ask every fighter when I think, what do you think was your most significant win, even though you haven't lost? And what do you think was a fight where you're like, no, I could have done a lot better there, because you've won the middleweight and the super welterweight Australian female titles, one after the other. Do you still hold those belts, or have you dropped them to move on to bigger and better things?
Well, I believe that I'm managed superbly, and considering that I've quite literally only ever had, up until now, 8 fights, and 2 fights before the Australian title fights, I'd had stepped in the ring 6 times, and a couple of them you could probably write off for various reasons, early in the career, and just it finished prematurely, like round 2 and stuff like that. So in terms of experience, I am as experienced as an amateur or as a beginner. So I'm really learning along the way, and I'm enjoying it. I'm loving every second of it. I love the challenges, but at the end of the day, sometimes my ambition outweighs my ability at this stage, and I've just got so much to learn, and I'm enjoying the ride, but I 100% leave opponents up to my management team, and they do a great job, I think. And then, to answer your other question, which I can't remember what it was, which fight did I learn, or what was it again?
I'll say, which was your most significant win, and which was your one fight when you thought that you weren't up to par, you thought, I could have done a lot better in that fight?
Well, I think every fight that I've had, bar the first couple, because you can kind of, to be honest, I don't really remember them because they were a few years ago, but every fight that I've had, I've been, because of the way that I've always been self-critical, but not in a bad way, like I give myself heaps of feedback, and I'm very honest with the way that I performed, and it's not in a putting myself down kind of way, it's in a constructive way. So I've had some pretty honest thoughts, and every fight that I've had I haven't necessarily been 100% happy with. There's been a few things good, but nothing that I'm super prepared to boast about. I've got a lot more to give. I've done much better sparring than I have competitive fights, so I love that because that's so exciting. I'm able to bring something so much better. What I've already brought is exciting with knockouts and stuff, but there's just so much more in terms of skill. I can't wait to showcase it, especially on a big stage. That's going to be exciting. And then the fight that I learned a lot about myself, and probably my favourite fight for myself and my coach, was my last one against Janae, who is an amazing fighter. She fights in MMA internationally. She's incredible at boxing, kickboxing, MMA, everything. She's a unit, and I admire her. And so she brought it on that night, and I dropped 8 kilos for the first time ever to get into the super welterweight weight division. I'd fought 4 weeks earlier for the middleweight Australian title, and then I rocked up on the night feeling good, and after about 10 minutes of warm-up, I felt like I was actually dead. Like, it was tough being at that weight division. It was really challenging, and I knew that it was going to be a tough night from the warm-up because I was losing energy super quickly, and then got into the ring finally after a little bit of delay, as per usual with the event, and then got in there, and after the first round I felt absolutely exhausted. Like, I had no energy at all. I was getting comprehensively beaten up until round 3, and then I came to the corner and I said to my coach, which I've never in my life said, I said, I don't know if I can keep going. I'm so depleted. I have no energy. I can't even move my legs. And he said, you have to knock her out. Like, he just said, I believe in you. You can do it. And then I went out there, and within 30 seconds, I think I managed to knock her out. Got all this energy back, as you always do, all of a sudden, and 3 knockdowns later, the fight was stopped. So that was something that I genuinely can say that I got past that pain barrier of thinking that I could not do any more, and then did more. And then to answer your question about, well, my least favourite fight that I've ever had was the draw. It was my worst night ever. Like, I couldn't even compare it to a training session. I just didn't show up for whatever reason, and I've got no excuses. But it was certainly a fight that I wouldn't put in the highlights reel, that's for sure. But my opponent was an incredibly tough and pushing forward, awkward, punches in bunches kind of opponent, and I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know that kind of fight was even possible. I hadn't done my research. I was very amateur when it came to that preparation, and I paid for it with a draw. I 100% could have beaten her had I have brought my ability to the night, but I didn't, and hopefully I get the chance to fight Sarah again and actually, give her a good fight rather than a traffic cone.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's fantastic. Because I saw your last fight with Janae Harding, and it was it was an incredible performance in round 4. You knocked it down 3 times, called it a day. So with your future, are you going to stay at super welter, or you feel you're going to return back to middleweight where you feel a little bit more stronger? And do you feel stronger at middleweight? Is that closer to your playing weight when you play footy?
Yeah, it definitely is closer. Probably 3 kilos off my footy playing weight, 3 or 4 kilos. But yeah, I haven't actually had that discussion completely with Faris, my coach, yet. I think we'll look at it. I can do both, and I think with better preparation and better understanding, I would be much better at 69 super welterweight. But we'll just wait and see. We'll see what opportunities comes up. If it's the difference between having a fight or not, or a title or not, then of course I'll do it, as any fighter would. But in terms of the best, my best weight division, yeah, possibly middleweight. But I haven't really given myself a chance at super welterweight.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, you've got plenty of time. I mean, you're only 8 fights in. You're only 23. Did you just have your birthday about a couple of months ago?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you make me feel old. I'm almost 40. Excuse me.
Well, at least you're not 50.
Well, yeah. That makes me feel so much better. Yeah, so you're still only a spring chicken. You've got plenty of time up your sleeves to decide what you're going to do with yourself. So
exactly?
What do you think is next with for yourself? And then I'll ask you a couple more questions. What do you think? What do you think is next for Tayla Harris? Like realistically.
Well, to be honest, it's really hard to say. Obviously, with the current circumstances with the coronavirus, I'd love to be able to say that I'll fight in a few months and things are like a normal year, but I really can't say that. I'm literally just preparing, and I'm using the time to train and work on things that I wouldn't otherwise have time to work on, which I think is a silver lining and a great thing. It's not like I'm missing out on opportunities that other people are getting, especially in Australia, because there are no fights. So I feel good about that. But yeah, I really can't answer the question in terms of a time frame, but as I said before, I'd love to have the opportunity to fight Sarah again and prove myself. At some point, I don't know what she is doing or where, if she's still fighting or anything, but if that opportunity came up.
She had a world title fight after you last year. She fought.
I was in footy season, so unfortunately I was not available for that fight. I remember getting very upset that I couldn't take up the opportunity.
Yeah, that was for the WBA female super welterweight.
Hannah Gabriels.
Yeah, and she hasn't done it. She hasn't fought since, so it's been a good 18 months since she's fought. So yeah, I don't know what she's up to be perfectly honest with you.
And that's, if she is, maybe, I don't know, maybe she's retired, I wouldn't know, but if she's around, that'd be a cool thing. And at the end of the day, I really only fight for myself and for my friends and family's entertainment, and that's about it. So to rectify that fight for myself, I'd do it before trying to prove anyone else right, or I really couldn't care less what other people think of my fights or who I fight or why I fight and things like that. So that's first priority, what I want to do, and then I guess what else comes after that, well, it's just wait and see.
Okay, well, I have to actually thank you, because you're the reason I actually started really delving into female boxing, because before I saw you, I can't remember which fight it was, you were undercard, let me have a look here. Undercard to...
Was it in Sydney?
To be honest, I can't remember. I remember seeing you on a fight. I'm like, oh yeah, that's that young footy girl. I'm going to look up female fighters, and I found all these fantastic women fighters I never knew anything about. I discovered Susie Ramadan's career. I discovered Dina Hobbs. Lauren Eagle I already sort of knew about, but I researched more into her career. Diana Pudziks, who won the WBC Super Featherweight title a few years back. So...
I'm really glad that you were able to follow some female boxers.
Oh, absolutely, because that's what we're branching into here at Fight View 360. We're not just focused on the guys, we're also focused on the women. And there's a lot of women out there, especially in this country, that have achieved a lot of things that don't get any notoriety for it. All right, but since you're already well known for your football career, and there was the statue that they made for you, and the photo, which I still can't figure out why anyone even batted at that photo twice. But anyway, apparently that caused a whole bunch of controversy. You were kicking football. What happened there?
Yeah, it's all happened in the last year.
Yeah, I looked at it. I'm like, okay, yeah, she's kicking a football. That's great. Okay, let's move on. And now you've got a is that statue outside the MCG?
No, I think it's currently in Docklands.
Oh,
I'm
it's
not
Docklands.
really sure.
Okay, so it's outside Marvel. So
Mum wishes it was in her front yard, but she got denied that request, unfortunately.
I bet you did. But I mean, for someone to already have a bronze statue at your young age, and you've got so much more career to go in both football and boxing, kudos to you, mate. That's fantastic. Best I could do.
I appreciate it.
Best I could do is get a gym named after me at the high school. So.
Hey, that's good.
Oh, well, yeah, it was my idea. I created it back in '98, barely after you were born. So, I'll ask you, what is your dream fight? What is, like, hypothetically speaking here, whatever you want, what is your dream fight? Where would you want it to be? And, like, for example, do you want to pack out Vegas with your name in the lights, or do you want to pack out the MCG with 110,000 people watching you fight for a world title? What's your dream fight?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, as I said earlier, I would love it to be in Australia if I was to do a big fight, which I will. But yes, the best thing in the world to me would be to be able to have my friends and family there supporting me. I can see them in the flesh. I can give them a wave. Even during fights, like sometimes I spot my friends and smile through my mouth guard. So, that would be the ideal location, whether it be in Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane, wherever, it doesn't matter, but just somewhere my people can be at would be amazing. And then opponent-wise, I would love to be able to fight Hannah Gabriels. I think I've been following her before I even had my first fight because I think she's such a cool person. She's got the cool hair. She's strong. She's an incredible fighter, obviously, but she's someone that I've looked up to in terms of the way she goes about things, the way she respects her opponents and things like that. So I would like to fight her in terms of a respect thing, and I would love to share the ring with her and challenge myself against her. But then obviously there's other people that you think of, like Clarissa Shields. I would love the opportunity at the peak of my career to fight as well. But I don't respect the way she goes about things, to be honest. So that would be more of a fight of a good girl versus bad girl kind of thing, and I think that would be a kind of a selling point because I refuse to break my respectful demeanour, and she's pretty clear that she doesn't really care about that sort of stuff.
Fair enough. So the classic heel versus face pro wrestling thing. So yeah, exactly. So just a couple more questions. So who do you think, in your opinion, it's totally your opinion, who do you think is the best fighter for Australia, male or female, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think Jeff Horn is. I think he's beaten Manny Pacquiao, 8 division world. Like, I just can't even. Manny Pacquiao is the most incredible athlete ever, and our Jeff Horn, Australian, got the win on him fair and square. So I think that's an incredible feat. Plenty will have their opinions, and there's the Maloney brothers, who I also think are incredible. George Kambosos Jr. There's plenty, but I do think Jeff has had the biggest scalp in the last
no doubt.
Few years, clearly. So I respect that. On a massive stage, I think it was an incredible event, and he managed to have that fight, and then also to be able to back it up with multiple fights of the year contenders with Michael Zarafa.
Those two fights were just not so much the first one, but the second one was just absolutely fantastic.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, the first one a little bit more one-way traffic towards Mick, but the second one was just fantastic. It was just
that goes to show. I mean, like, you can lose a fight and get all upset about it and have a cry, but Jeff lost it respectfully, went away, got better, won. That's how it worked out, so I can appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And what about on the female side? Who do you think's the best female in the country, in your opinion? Do you follow the girls much, or do you just focus on yourself?
Oh, to be honest, I focus on myself
That's fair enough.
I've got lots on, and you don't often see female fights on the TV, to be honest. And the only reason I probably know Jeff and the Maloney brothers and things like that, to be honest, is because of the TV and because of social media. Because I don't really get to many fight nights unless I'm fighting on them, and even then, obviously, I'm out the back. So, it's kind of hard to say with the female space because it's so up and coming, and there's fights all over the country that I probably wouldn't even know about because they don't get enough publicity. So I'd love to see
that's where I come in.
That ramped up.
That's where I come in. So every female fight for the last, I think, 6 months, couple of yours, Dee Dee Hobbs' fight in February, Susie Ramadan's fights, they're all on the website. So
I'll be on there watching religiously. So I can give you an opinion.
I've written at least 2, 3, maybe even 4 articles about yourself. You and Joe Camilleri were on a fight night together. I wrote about that. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I've spoken to Joe. He's a great bloke. So don't worry. Every time you step in the ring, our intention is to get there and give you 100% support. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Final question for you, Tayla, before I take up too much of your time. Bit of an American-based question. Are you familiar with Mount Rushmore? The 4 presidents?
Yes.
Yep. Who would be your Mount Rushmore for Australian boxing? The 4 most influential boxers, trainers, whomever. Who would be your top 4 of all time, or in your opinion, who would be? These are the guys that are most inspirational to me of why I'm a boxer.
Okay, well, I'm going to go personally, of course. Faris Chevalier, my coach, is...
There's no judgment here, it's just whoever you like.
Yeah, cool. Well, Faris Chevalier, my coach, is the reason I box, the reason I continue to box, the reason I managed to win that fight that we were talking about earlier with Janae. He's inspiring. He is a great fighter himself, but the way that he invests his time and energy into me is something that I appreciate forever. And the reason I want to fight and perform well is for him, and to hope he feels like I am invested in appreciating all his effort. My dad also, he's in my corner as my waterman. He's always there. He's obviously been there since the start. And then in terms of athletes, as you've probably picked up, I'm really big on everything out of the ring. Obviously, things in the ring are very individual and everyone has their own style and things like that. But outside the ring, I think it's something that I hold to a high standard respect, and the way you go about things articulately and stuff like that. And Anthony Joshua is someone who does that. Obviously, he's lost to Andy Ruiz. The way he immediately congratulated Andy was amazing. I loved that. And then, as I said before, Hannah Gabriel's also is respectful. And I followed her before I even started fighting. So she's the kind of, as I said, I'd love to share the ring with her for different reasons than I'd like to share the ring with other people.
No, that's why I ask these questions, because every answer you get is completely different. So you've got
I bet it is.
Your coach, your dad, Anthony Joshua, and Hannah Gabriel's. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So that's awesome. That's why I love asking these questions, because they're so different each and every time. So
and I think the other thing with female boxing, I don't buy into the fact that boxers have to be all macho and swear at each other and talk shit and all that sort of stuff. I understand you have to sell a fight, but if your fighting does the talking, and if your athleticism and your performance does the talking, you don't need to do all this shit talking and build it up. You can be confident, 100%, and I am always confident, but I don't need to put down my opponent. I don't need to, if I want to try and get a fight, I don't need to, call them all sorts of names. Like, if anything, if someone was kind of coming at me in that kind of manner, I would immediately refuse the fight unless it's totally necessary for me or my benefit. But there's a few Australians especially who go about things in the complete wrong way, and little do they know that they're losing their opportunity, because I know that I'm the draw card often, especially when it's just a random mum from interstate. It makes me laugh because they don't realise that they're losing their chance just by being rude. All it takes is just a rude comment and you lose your opportunity
absolutely.
To have a go.
Yeah, I love it when when boxers talk up, but I love it when they talk themselves up, not when you don't have to belittle your opponent.
Correct.
You can say things like, you're probably too young, but you ever heard of Dusty Rhodes or Superstar Billy Graham? They're 70s wrestlers. You probably have no idea who they are.
I don't. Sorry.
Yeah, the old school wrestlers, and they were the best talkers ever. They talked themselves up. They never belittled their opponent, but they talked themselves up. You know, like, I'm the man of the hour, the man of the power, the number one selection. You know, you're a reflection of perfection.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's great. I love that.
Yeah,
Confidence.
I would kill for an Australian boxer to do that, just to talk themselves up. Actually, here's one for you. I don't think you'll like this, but I said this to my brother-in-law the other day. We're talking about his nephew on his side. And we're talking about his age and something. He's 10, 11, 12. No, he goes, can you add up? Can you add and subtract? I said, yeah, mate. I'm going to add my fist to your face and subtract your teeth.
That's funny. I like it. You should be a comedian.
I am actually a comedian on the side. I've been doing comedy for about 3 years now. So.
Oh, well, I can tell. There you go.
Yeah. Feel free to use that one if someone asks you up. Just go, can you add and subtract, mate? Yeah, well, I'll add my, do it in a funny way. You don't want to belittle anyone, but, it'll get a good laugh. So.
Bit of fun. All right, I'll use it for sure.
Yeah, you feel free to use that one. So if I see a press conference, I see you, I'll be like, yep. And just make sure you go, that's for Big J.
Okay, yeah. I'll remember that.
Yeah, I seriously doubt you, but that's all right. Thank you so much for your time here, Hannah. Hannah. Where did I get Hannah from? I'm a little bit Hannah Gabriel's right in front of me.
I'm okay with you confusing me for her.
No, I've got her record right in front of my face as we're talking, that's all. It's like, sorry, Tayla. I was like, Hannah, where did I get Hannah from?
Well, maybe one day you'll be calling us on the same card.
Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic, and we'll be there. We'll do our best efforts to make sure that we will actually. If you get that fight, let us know, and I don't mind how far I have to travel for it, because I would love to sit there, ringside in the little media thing, and like, I'm watching Tayla Harris, and one for the Queenslanders, mate. You're a Queenslander. I'm a Queenslander.
Yes, Queenslanders. You have to be wearing maroon.
Well, I've got my beanie on right now. So.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Tayla. I appreciate your time. I'll just stop
no problem.
Little thing.